And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to my review for Elvis. So, this movie stars Austin Butler as Elvis, and also, too, this also is directed by Buzz Limerman, and also, too, it also stars Tom Hanks as the Connell. And let me just tell you this: I thought Austin Butler did a fantastic job as Elvis. I thought he did a fantastic job of him being able to portray Elvis the way that he needs to be portrayed. I also thought that when he shakes and does his Elvis movements and everything, it's perfect. It's very spot on. It's something that is very iconic to Elvis, and he does a fantastic job with that. I thought that Tom Hanks did a very good job at playing the Connell. And of course, whenever I went into this movie, I didn't know what kind of biopic I was going to get, to be honest with you. I thought maybe we might actually get maybe just the camera coming in on Elvis and things like that, and just showing us different things with Elvis. But no, this is actually telling the stories in the lenses of the Connell. And the Connell's actually trying to make himself look like the hero whenever he's actually not the hero. And he's just trying to fool the audience, just like how he fooled Elvis into thinking the hero whenever really he's not. And the reason why I'm saying that is because of this reason. Okay, so basically he's saying he's the hero because of the fact that he's actually brought Elvis to us, and that everybody should basically worship the Connell because he actually discovered Elvis. And by the way, the Connell has no talent at all. This guy was actually doing carnies, putting chickens on hot plates, watching them dance, for crying out loud. But yet he wants people to actually say, "Oh, good job, Connell. You actually did something with your life, and you discovered somebody." And another thing, though, too, is I liked the whole entire chemistry between Austin Butler and Tom Hanks. I thought that was really good because of the fact that he's so evil and he's so menacing when it comes down to trying to manipulate Elvis. And Elvis is also trying to divide himself between the Connell and trying to figure out a way to actually get out of his hooks on him. So I definitely like that. And then, of course, you actually see where Elvis actually comes from. Even if you don't know anything about Elvis, this movie actually sets it up to where it talks about his past. It talks about the stuff with his father. You actually have it to where he knows about the gospel and the area that he actually grew up around, and also too how his mother had to move into the ghetto and stuff like that to raise Elvis. So that's something that I really do appreciate with this film. It does focus on a lot of some true stuff, but also too some of it is actually fictionalized as well. And also too, my other little negative is this: when they try to actually mix in like the modern music aspect of this film, it kind of loses me just a little bit because of the fact that I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to actually amplify the emotion that Elvis is actually going through, telling through the lenses of the music, and just giving us the background of Elvis's voice mixed in with some beats from other famous artists and stuff like that. And for me, I think that's where it misses its actual marker on that, to be honest with you, for me. But as far as a biopic goes, I thought this was an okay biopic, not the greatest biopic. I just thought that Bohemian Rhapsody did a little bit better. But the monologue at the very beginning of where Connell is actually trying to fool the audience was really good. It kind of reminds me of Thanos, where basically Thanos is actually making the audience feel like that he's actually the hero when really he's actually the villain. And to be honest with you, the villains that scare me the most is the ones who actually think that they're right when they're wrong. And that's actually exactly how Connell is. And he's actually trying to put his hooks in the audience as well. So that's something that I really like that Tom Hanks did. Now, another thing too that I would have to say that was a real good positive for me as far as this biopic goes is the fact that you do see the Connell in the carnival. You actually do see the chicken on the hot plate. Stuff that I actually saw within the documentary that I reviewed on this channel was actually kind of beat for what it is. There was actually some other things I was actually questioning about because there's some stuff that I don't know about Elvis, but it does focus on the JFK shooting. It does focus on the Martin Luther King shooting as well. And then also too, the comeback Christmas special that Elvis did. And I love that scene in there. As a matter of fact, I just want to point this out. Darcy Montgomery, I believe that's his name. He actually plays on Stranger Things, and he actually plays Steve Binder, the producer of that Elvis Christmas special. And basically, this is a big fu to the Connell, and basically saying, "Look, I'm doing my thing, and if you support me, you support me. If you don't, you don't. I don't care. I need to resurrect my career." And he does that with Steve Binder. And then, of course, the whole setup with Binder and stuff like that actually feels a little cartoonish in a sense because of the fact that he's on top. Basically, Elvis is near the Hollywood sign, and that's whenever he basically explains to Steve, "What do you think of my career?" He goes, "To be honest with you, it's kind of in the toilet." And that's exactly what happened in the documentary series. Now, there's this other thing that I like though too. Whenever they said that he was going to be put in jail for moving the way he moves and stuff like that, the song that he does is just fantastic. To be honest with you, that's actually a pretty cool way of actually showing people, you know what, I'm not going to stand for what you guys want me to do. I need to be true to myself. I need to be true to my audience, and I'd screw you if you have a problem with it. And that's also why the Ed Sullivan show, where they actually film him from the waist up. You also have him licking the dog to actually show his disapprovance of the show that he was actually on and things like that. So there's like little things and stuff like that that I actually have to say. Austin Butler does a fantastic job of handling himself as Elvis. I didn't think that he was doing an impression of Elvis. It was very easy to do an impression of Elvis, and there's also differences between acting and doing impressions. Impressions is like, thank you very much, and then that's it. This is Austin Butler being Elvis. He transformed himself to be Elvis, doing his dance moves. Also, too, mimicking his movements and stuff like that, even when he's conversating with him and his wife and stuff like that. I thought that worked out really well. The only thing gripe I have with it is the fact that when you try to mix in modern day music in with an Elvis biopic, it pulls me out of it. And I understand what they're doing as far as, despite the fact that going through and stuff like that, it's also a tip of the hat and a thank you to Elvis for inspiring them to do what they do today. So that's something that I do appreciate, but at the same time, I don't like the modern day take as far as that goes. But I do like the little cameos from BB King. Then you also have Little Richard. You also have other people that actually influenced him in his life. You also deal with the negatives of his life, having the affairs. You actually see that happening. You see the where the Connell is actually injecting him, of course, with adrenaline. You see pills that's being popped and stuff like that. So everything that people were thinking that they were going to stray away from, they don't stray away from. They actually show that he's an imperfect person. Nobody on this earth is actually perfect, and therefore I actually applaud them for actually taking the time to do the negatives and also give us the positives. That's one of the biggest gripes I have about biopics. They only glorify the positives, but they don't touch on the negatives. And with this one, I feel like they actually do touch on the negatives for that. And so therefore I thank them for doing that. But yeah, it's an okay film. The runtime, I didn't really start feeling the runtime until probably towards the end of the film, where I'm like, okay, especially the part where you think that it's going to end, but it doesn't. It just keeps going. And that, as a matter of fact, that is very reminiscent to probably how Elvis felt in Vegas, where he wanted to keep going, not doing Vegas shows, and the Colonel kept on pushing him to do Vegas shows. But you actually get the atmospheric vibe of Elvis in a Vegas area. It does not feel like an Elvis impression. It actually does feel like that you're drawn into this universe, into the year and the setting that the story wants to be told. They do jump around a lot, but you have to expect that from a biopic. Then, of course, you're also dealing with the other stuff, and you're dealing with whenever Elvis actually gains a lot of weight and things like that. And Austin Butler does a fantastic job of portraying Elvis in that kind of light. And I have to say, it's a good time to see at the theaters and stuff like that. It's just one little negative gripe with the film that I have with the music choices. And then, of course, the runtime. And then if you're expecting this to just focus on Elvis and just watching Elvis do what he does, and you go in there and you're not expecting it to be told between the lenses of Tom Hanks's character, the Colonel, you might actually be a little slightly disappointed and everything. But as an Elvis fan, someone who's an Elvis fan and everything, I'm 50-50 with it. I'm not going to say that you're going to like it. I'm not going to say you're going to love it. But I will say this: go out and support it if you're an Elvis fan, and tell me what you guys think in the comments below on that. Also, too, we also have not the biopic, but we actually have the documentary review that I did for the resurrection of Elvis. Go ahead, take a look at that. We also have the Elvis thriller. What you like about Elvis? We also have a spoiler review for Stranger Things Volume 2. So stop on by, check out some of that stuff. Also, too, we also have an audio only podcast. So if you want to check out some audio only podcast, you guys can get that wherever you guys get your major podcast from. And always until next time, guys, it's been real. It's been fun. I can't wait to do this again. And bye.